This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, you got it. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
But remember what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome one and all. Lembit Öpik here on Lembit Öpik Live here on Unprecedented TV. Please do like and subscribe. Just put at Unprecedented TV. It'll take you straight there. Take you 10 seconds just to follow us. It helps us so much. Please do it. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does really assist us in the work that we're doing. Well, just as I'm hoping you will come to us, it seems that Labour is leaving Kier Starmer, the British Prime Minister. Oh, yes. At time of broadcast, Kier Starmer has lost his human shield. That's Morgan McSweeney, the head of staff for Starmer's operation. More than that, Morgan McSweeney was the person who pretty much made Kier Starmer succeed when it came to the world of becoming the Prime Minister in the first place. There he is, in fact. And in the background there, looking a bit like Simon Pegg, in my view, playing an ironic role. Morgan McSweeney is out. He resigned, or he was resigned, one way or another. This means that Kier Starmer is really on the precipice. The next person, the only new person who can resign to try to resolve the situation, in my view at least, is Kier Starmer himself. And even very pro-Labour papers like The Guardian in the United Kingdom have said that pretty much, or their spokespeople have said, this wasn't enough to save Starmer. The clock's ticking. It's counting down to zero. The only question is, when does it get to zero? Will it be this week, next week? Will it be at the time of the by-election in Gorton and Denton, which is near Manchester? Or will he stagger on as far as the local elections? And can he go beyond that? I'll make my prediction and then we can talk to my guest. I don't think that Starmer will make it to the local elections. Only a small extra onslaught, a slight height in the waves washing up and smashing against Downing Street's door will be enough to inundate him. I think that he's already a lame duck Prime Minister. He's not being taken seriously. He's unloading the blame for things right, left and centre. But one more big sucker punch and he'll be out. I just don't see where he continues. Now, joining me to share his view is somebody who maybe completely disagrees with me. There he is. There's Warren Thornton, the unshakable and unsinkable Warren Thornton. Good to see you. How is our man in Manila?
We're absolutely fine, thank you, Lembit. And of course, we've been predicting that this sort of thing would go on. We were having a chat a while back and saying that this was going to come to light and it was all going to be getting very unsavoury indeed. And in fact, we've literally had the night of the long knives, haven't we? Or the week of the long knives, I should say, very much like Macmillan's government. McSweeney's resigned, Mandelson's resigned. And of course, you have to remember the old rule in politics, Lembit, that it is necessary to get squarely behind someone before you can stab them in the back.
Well, there's Morgan McSweeney. He, if you're watching this live, then he's just walked out the door. Morgan McSweeney, a man who, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Warren, a man who is absolutely instrumental in guiding the limited and, in my view, not very capable Kier Starmer to Downing Street. Maybe Morgan McSweeney's biggest achievement was actually getting Kier Starmer to be Prime Minister at all, because he's not Prime Minister material, is he?
No, absolutely not. And you have to remember with Morgan McSweeney, he was the guy who was one of the ones who was instrumental in getting rid of Jeremy Corbyn out the Labour Party. And of course, his ties to Mandelson, he was very much a Mandelson acolyte. His ties to Mandelson are very, very strong indeed. In fact, McSweeney's wife, Mandelson was her campaign manager when she ran.
Really? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
absolutely. Yep.
And so in other words, they got a bit of a problem here because McSweeney is so closely connected to against Starmer, but we'll come back to that later. Fundamentally, then, Morgan McSweeney, was he pushed or did he resign, in your opinion?
It was either you resign or we'll push you out the door. You can either walk the plank or we'll throw you overboard. Was basically it. You have to remember that he's got a long list of, shall we say, people that have got into this, and of course Imogen Walker, who's McSweeney's wife. Mandelson basically ran her campaign. Then you've got Wes Streeting, who's tied very much to Mandelson, who campaigned with him in 2015, 2019. And then, of course, there's the Labour Friends of Israel, which is tied to Jacob Rothschild and Trevor Chin. So all the way along the line, Morgan McSweeney, it was a dead man walking. And, of course, Starmer is desperately throwing people under the bus. But, of course, he's got his own bête noire, shall we say, or his own, difficulties coming ahead, Starmer. He's not out of the woods by a long chalk here.
Will it make any difference at all to have fired Morgan McSweeney? And I'll put my cards on the table. I think the McSweeney was his human shield. It was like his get out of jail free card, but he's played that. And anyone who's played Monopoly knows once you haven't got a get out of jail free card, you go in. And,
yes.
and you do not pass go and you don't collect 200 and all that. So I'm wondering if this situation means that now he is entirely naked at the conference table. He is entirely vulnerable because there's no one else to fire.
No, exactly that. He's already got rid of people. He's already tried to throw Rachel Reeves under the bus. He threw Angela Rayner under the bus. He's thrown Peter Mandelson under the bus, even though he had to know, and he admitted that he knew. And now he's throwing his closest ally under the bus. Remember, politics is always like that. At the end of the day, it's everybody is man overboard apart from me. And that's basically what happens when you're in politics. It's like a lifeboat, and you want to be the last man sitting in the boat. And the problem that he has, of course, is he's going to get thrown overboard. I think either it will be because the by-election result will be so bad, but remember, he's got a sword of Damocles hanging over his head in April when it comes to the 3 Ukrainian male models.
Yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, I wasn't going to go into it too much today. But there is this mysterious case, very odd, where these Ukrainian male models, you say they are, handsome young men, Ukrainian-born, who are accused, hasn't been proven yet, accused of having torched his property that most people didn't even know that he had. It's strange, because for me, Warren, it seems to be a case of national interest to know that our Prime Minister is safe. They banged up Lucy Connolly for hurty words on the internet in a matter of weeks. But this, as you call it, sword of Damocles, has hung over Britain, as we don't know what this was about. Was Kier Starmer in danger? I would have made this the top priority. The top priority, not the bottom one.
Well, the trouble is the Epstein files have damaging Starmer even further because, of course, Epstein was known to procure models from agencies in Ukraine, Russia, and many other countries as well. To go and visit him. We won't get into that too much, but what we will turn around and tell you is that one of the Ukrainian male model or one of the Ukrainian model agencies that we have exposed as being run and Epstein used was also had at some stage has had those 3 Ukrainian men as part of their modeling agency.
What, those same
so there
three?
There is a link. Yes, the same 3.
Wow. Yeah. This is just getting worse and worse. The more you struggle in quicksand, the more you sink. So that you mentioned a number of people there, but let's after the break. I want to talk about the actual scenarios about who can replace him, the problems others face. But it's worth remembering this isn't the first time that Kier Starmer's lost the chief of staff. There's a Sue Gray. Sue Gray resigned.
Yes.
And got replaced by Morgan McSweeney. That was riddled in accusation as well. He was accused of having essentially employed this woman and that this showed that she'd been biased in terms of her previous work as some kind of a standards commissioner.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's a web, shall we say, of wrongdoing, would be the nicest way to put it, and of course, the whole of the Labour Party, or certainly up near the top, and many Labour backbenchers are mired in all sorts of scandals. So I don't think he can survive this. I think if he gets a bad by-election result, the clamour will be too loud.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment as well. So it's a deepening crisis, a lot of people say. That this is typical of a lot of the coverage. Once again, if you're watching this live, then we're talking about this on the basis of what could happen. Maybe if you're watching it in the replays, or if you're watching this from the archive at Unprecedented TV, you'll know if we're right or wrong. But I just think this is now, to quote something that was said of the Titanic sinking, that is a statistical certainty. It's a mathematical certainty. He can't recover from this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And you have to remember that they tried to put an amendment so that you couldn't find out too much of what was going on. And lots of people are accusing, the British media tried to cover it up by giving the laughable idea that Epstein was some sort of Russian spy, but Epstein's ties to Mandelson are very much down the Israel route. And the problem was the amendment that he put on the table had 4 signatories to that. And they were Darren Jones, Thomas Simmons, and Jonathan Reynolds, who, oddly enough, are all Labour friends of Israel.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm probably not going to, once again, I'm not able to verify that. But in terms of I'll take your word for it. But in terms of the attempt to pin it on the Russians, I thought that was pretty thin.
Yes.
I mean, it's like,
yes.
Oh, it's the Russians again. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. I spoke to this American person who said things of great concern about Russia rolling in across Europe. And I said, are you really saying the Russia's going to come and invade the United Kingdom and Paris and Germany? And the person said, yeah. Well, you kind of have to believe that if you're going to blame all of this on Russia. It doesn't in a way matter, though, so much, does it? Because the Epstein scandal keeps growing. It's like having hogweed in your garden. Once you got it, it's almost impossible to get it out because the roots go deep, form a network, and then pop up all over the place. And this is what's happening. Epstein is a man who's telling tales from beyond the grave, and no one can stop him.
No, exactly that. And you also have to remember that the people who now run the Labour Party events, one of the company do that, Palantir, and of course Peter Thiel, who is very much into that sort of spy spook type thing where they look after the internet and everything else. Peter Thiel and Ehud Barak, very, very close chums with Epstein. So there's ties everywhere and tentacles everywhere. And of course, this is, in the end, this is just going to bring Starmer down. The Mandelson effect, as people are calling it. And you can go and check all this out. It's all freely available. And of course, the LFI, the conglomerate together with Jacob Rothschild, Trevor Chin, and everybody like that, is going to cause huge problems. And then, of course, you've got some Labour backbenchers who've got very shady pasts indeed, Lembit. So, and Starmer has backed all these people.
Yeah, that's a big problem for him. And after the break, I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the Gorton and Denton by-election, which is quite near Manchester, which is causing a huge headache for Labour. And then also who might take over if and when we're right. And Kier Starmer is pulled down. But before that, I have to celebrate something which we've done recently. If you're watching live, a superb edition of Tim Scott Uncancelled. You'll find it on the archive. You'll see it live as well. Watch this. Tim Scott keeps going from strength to strength, and you'll find many of his back editions as well at Unprecedented TV. I know I said a lot, but please like and subscribe. Never realized how important it was until we really got going in earnest with Unprecedented TV. Somebody else who's earnest and with me still is Warren Thornton, an investigative journalist in the Philippines. Warren, let's talk about the Gorton and Denton by-election. Once again, we can make predictions. They'll be easy enough to check out. The front runners apparently are this bunch together with the Greens, but this is Matt Goodwin. I actually sat next to him in a dinner recently together with Lee Anderson. 26th of February. It's reckoned that Labour's doing so badly that Reform could win a seat. 50% of the vote for Labour the last time, with Reform way behind. This will be catastrophic for Labour if they lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to remember that they've actually turned round and done their very best, shall we say, to make sure that Andy Burnham couldn't run. Yeah. So that, of course, is another thing that's going to cause him a problem, isn't it?
You're quite right. Absolutely. In fact, Andy Burnham, there he is. There he is with his old chum, his old matey. There's a time when I suppose they thought they were on the same side, Warren, but they haven't been on the same side for a long time. I find Andy far more capable than Starmer. I don't really support his politics, but as a person, he's much more agreeable. He's a much more likable person. So you've got this man. He would probably have won, in my view. Now, if you're watching the archive, you'll know if Labour did win or not. If you're watching it live, Burnham would have won. We will never know if he would have won it or not. But if Labour lose, it's easy to say it's because Starmer is too scared of this contender coming back into Westminster. And it's so childish. So what they could have ended up with instead is Matt Goodwin in a safe Labour seat. And if you think about it, if Reform wins this one, then that pretty much means any Labour MP with less than 51% of the vote could lose.
Absolutely. And the candidate that they picked, which is Angelika Stoiger, who is he's a Manchester City councillor. He's not exactly somebody. I believe she's of Greek descent. Her private life is kept very quiet and everything else, but I don't think she's going to be anywhere near a match for what is coming at her. And she's pretty much just been thrown to stand into a seat. It's almost like anybody but Andy Burnham we're going to lose anyway.
Yeah, it's strange. I know absolutely nothing about her. She hasn't even registered as a flicker on my political dial ever. Probably just somebody who doesn't frighten the Starmer horses, but really it's pretty thin when you start having somebody with no track record. Compare her to Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham, who's, whether you like him or not, managed to make a pretty deep impact on northern politics, and a huge majority of people, I can't remember if it was in Labour or in the north of England or in the Manchester area, said he should have been allowed to stand. I mean, it's pathetic, really. It's pathetic that Kier Starmer was so scared of him that he actually vetoed Burnham's candidature. Yeah,
well, originally, I mean, the Labour candidate that we've now got, she's originally from a place called Arta in Greece, and she moved to the UK in the 90s to study European studies and languages at Manchester University, and then she became a naturalised citizen. And then, of course, she decided during her time working in regeneration, would you believe, and equality and sustainability. So she could have run for the Greens just as much, and she put herself forward to become a councillor, and she won the election and sort of made a big speech saying she was proud of her Greek heritage, and that I am the local authorities member for transport and environment. So she's very much into sort of green policies, would very much be her sort of bag. So we'll have to see how she gets on the national stage rather than the local one now.
Yeah, it's a big mistake. Of course, the Greens themselves, they're polling really well. There's Zach. There's the boob whisperer. Zach Polanski, not his real name, not his original name, sorry. who apparently used to manage to hypnotize women to have bigger breasts. But then he said he didn't do it and apologized for it all the same. And this is absolute amateur hour when people do that. Oh, no, I never did that, but I'm sorry about it. Really? It's like that's what a kid does. I didn't steal the cookies and I'm sorry, Dad. It's crazy. Yeah, so it's a bit self-styled. I want to get him on the show. I think he'd probably be great fun to interview.
I think so. I mean, it's sort of like right up there with Monty Python's show, wasn't it? Where they had a man appearing on a show that claimed he could send bricks to sleep by hypnosis.
I don't remember that, but they're doing well. They and Reform UK are the favourites to win. It's extraordinary. I don't know anything about the candidate, Hannah. There's another mistake, incidentally. If you are watching this, Zach, tell people the surname. Hannah isn't enough. It makes you want to say "and her sisters" for those who know the film. No idea about her, but for some weird reason, the Greens, who are, in my opinion, scientifically illiterate because they think that the minuscule contribution of human carbon dioxide to the atmosphere is driving the climate. It's ridiculous, in my view, ridiculous. But they're doing well. And I think it's partly because lots of Labour people who can't bring themselves to vote for reform would vote Green. They'll vote anyone but Labour.
I mean, by the way, their name is Spencer, the Greens, Hannah. And of course, she's a councillor and a plumber. And of course, so there you go.
Trade?
Yes, by trade, apparently she's a plumber. So there we go. Don't know too much more about her than that. I haven't looked into it deeply, but I do know that her name is Hannah Spencer, and she was once a plumber.
Well, good for her. Maybe Pimlico will give her a bit of moonlighting in London if she wins. But the fact that you've got the Greens and Reform as the front runners and Labour just way back. We'll look at the odds in a little while. There's somebody else who I found interesting, and actually they launched their campaign right here on Unprecedented TV, our fourth national scoop. And we've got those guys, and I suppose they're contenders. We've got Advance UK. And our future together, says Advance UK. That's Ben Habib's party. Elect Nick Buckley MBE, and he has some really good local roots. Make our streets safer, support local families, stand up for our community. That's real local pavement politics stuff. Now, the line they're using is bring integrity and common sense back into politics. Now, when Nick Buckley launched his initiative just over a week ago, I said to him, aren't you splitting the Reform vote? Aren't you making it more likely for Labour to win? His response was simple. He said, I'm actually offering, it's what you'd expect him to say, I'm actually offering all this stuff, which is only available with Advance UK. He was fairly critical of Reform. But there is a risk, isn't there, Warren, that Nick Buckley will take some of the vote without winning necessarily. Maybe he will win, but without winning, he could actually cost Reform the seat and give the desperado Starmer some sort of a messy victory.
Yeah, it could do. When you sort of look at but general elections are a lot easier to predict, aren't they? Because when you get to these things, anybody can, with a protest vote, can get there. I mean, Nick Buckley, we know because I've spoke to him on a few occasions and been on a couple of shows with him. Nice guy, but they all are. I mean, Jackie Pearcey from the Liberal Democrats, we haven't heard a thing from her, and of course Charlotte Cadden of the Conservative Party is not even. I think probably she's down there. I think the people that everybody should vote for is the official monster raving loony party, with Sir Oinkalot might be the best candidate.
Oinkalot. I know Nick the Flying Brick in the monster raving loony rock cavern party, to give it its full name. And one of Nick the Flying Brick's policy areas is to abolish gravity. It is quite likable. I like it a lot. Okay, so we've got all these people standing. Let's have a look at the odds. Can we get the odds up? The odds are quite interesting. And this was taken more or less when we've been doing it live. It'll be interesting if you can watch if you can get rid of the banner for a minute, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you very much. Right, there we are. There's basically, those are the odds, and
Green's a favourite.
Well, this seems to be the case, and that was interesting to me. You got Greens at 4 to 6, 8 to 10, quite consistently the favourite. Reform in second place, though. When it's that close, you can't tell. Labour roughly 8 to 1. I
would say that's being kind to Labour. Yeah. I'd say Labour's chances of winning that are probably more like 33 to 1.
Yeah. But Advanced UK is not doing badly. I mean, 100 to 1, but they're finally on the scoreboard, which is something. Tories, Lib Dems, Social Democrats, they're pretty much nowhere. But that means that, according to this, it's a toss-up between Green and Reform. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, it's pretty obvious from this Labour can't win.
I think what you're seeing here is a shift, and you're seeing this countrywide as well. And it's dangerous to give the Greens some idea that they might do well, and they are polling right up level nationally with the Conservatives and Labour. And what you're getting here is people are going, I don't want Labour. You're getting very much the woke crowd going, Labour are not going to get in. Labour are a busted flush. I'm not voting Conservative. I'm certainly not voting Reform because they're, against immigration. What's the only choice we have left? I know, the Green Party. And that's where the Green Party are picking up all their votes.
Apologies to Social Democrats there. They've just been blanked out by the ticker. Nothing personal. They're very nice people, actually. But, okay, looking at this then, Labour is out of it, according to the odds checking. One reason I do this is because I tend to trust the bookies because they got a financial interest in getting this wrong. They have no political interest in getting this wrong.
None at all.
And so when you look at it, you basically begin to think, well, these are the odds, and so it's Green versus Reform, and that is interesting. If Reform loses to Green, that would in itself be interesting. Then it's whether the Reform plus advanced vote would be more than the Green vote. That's interesting as well. Go on.
I am one of those who last week predicted that the Greens might well nick the seat, might well get the seat from Reform, because, of course, the Manchester area, of course, is typical sort of Labour. They won't want Reform winning. That's part of sort of like the Manchester, if you like, the sort of red wall. They won't want Reform winning. And so they're going to switch their votes. Labour can't vote Lib Dems because the Lib Dems are just nowhere. They're certainly not going to vote Conservative. They don't think Labour can win. They don't want Reform in. So the obvious choice then is to go for the Green Party.
So they're basically saying it's not pro-Green, it's anti-Labour. In some ways, it's not. Some people say it's not always pro-Reform, but it's anti-Conservative.
Yeah, absolutely. What you've got is the sort of woke, liberal group of people. They know that the Lib Dems can't get in. The Greens are polling second. Let's give our support behind them.
Though I have to say that I think Reform is attracting Labour votes as well. That's why I think I think this probably might not be right. I think we'd be fairly sure, barring a total weird thing happening, it'll be Reform or Green that win. And if Green win, that will just propel them even further in the same way that, appropriately enough, Manchester United used to have tons of supporters just because those supporters thought they were back in the winning team. You don't hear that so much anymore.
No.
You don't really hear that very much anymore.
Here's the problem that we do have, though, Lembit. Is it going to be? It's going to be very close between Greens and Reform. There's probably only going to be a couple of thousand in it. But the huge headlines at the end of it are going to be the swing from Labour away from Labour. And that is the sort of Damocles that is hanging over Starmer's head.
Well, let's finish with talking about the options. I am pretty sure that Starmer's doomed now. I can't see him going past, as I said in my introduction, I can't see him getting past May. And I'm not sure he'll get to May. If there are any more major revelations that compromise him, he's got no one else to fire. It's him next. He's actually the next person that will get fired. He's at the front of the queue. A queue that he's called for himself. So we got Wes Streeting. You mentioned him. You said he was quite close to Peter Mandelson.
Yes, he was. Now, the Wes Streeting has tried to distance himself and say that he lied. Well, I'm not being funny. Peter Thiel, of course, that I'd mentioned from Palantir, he attended the Bilderberg meeting with Wes Streeting this year. So Wes Streeting knows all about Peter Mandelson. And he actually campaigned with Peter Mandelson. I've got a photograph of him and Mandelson campaigning together for Wes Streeting in 2015 and 2019. So
Wow.
West Streeting's being very disingenuous when he says he doesn't know Mandelson very well at all.
Yeah, it's tricky. The toxicity that comes with Mandelson. And I could have told him that Mandelson's a bad bet, because when I worked with Mandelson when he was Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, it was just unpleasant. It wasn't an enjoyable experience. The guy's got no warmth that I could tell. That's Mandelson. And he wasn't honest. He lied.
Yes.
He lied to me. He double-crossed me and the late David Trimble, I remember. I was so angry about it. I'd rather not to work with him, not to cooperate with him. But of course, he got fired anyway. One of the 2 times he was fired from his job. There was another clue, but not a clue that Kier Starmer noticed. And the other clue, when I think the Guardian or one of the papers published all this stuff about how close Mandelson was with Epstein, Starmer didn't notice. He didn't notice it. So he did the obvious thing. He fired McSweeney, who's on the right in that picture there. Yeah,
and absolutely. McSweeney's got he's so compromised and so politically damaged that he had to go. Either Starmer or McSweeney had to go. The problem we also have, of course, with West Streeting is Mandelson rather hampered, shall we say, or quid the pitch for everybody. And I do use that term advisedly because Mandelson said it's because I'm gay that everybody started having a go. Well, West Streeting is also gay, but he's the front runner probably to be the leader after, of course, Starmer has to fall on his sword, which I would imagine if it's not straight after, as I say, the by-election, it certainly will be in April.
Yeah, I thought it was a distinctly uncomfortable thing when Mandelson said, "Oh, it's because I'm gay." But hang on a second. In one of the emails, which you don't remember, Mandelson,
yes,
you said to Epstein, "I can help you get property somewhere in the Mediterranean for you and your guests," in inverted commas. What's that mean then? What do you mean by that? And what do these pictures tell us? You knew nothing was going on. Well, since Mandelson's been proved to be a liar already, it doesn't exactly carry much weight when he says that.
No, it doesn't, Lembit. And here's the thing. Here's something I want to make an absolute clear. Everybody knew about Epstein back in 2008. They knew about Mandelson's ties to Epstein. They knew the closeness of the relationship, that they were really on good buddy terms. And for the Labour Party to turn around and say he lied to us, it is not the case. Politicians lie. We all know that. And Mandelson, we know, is a consummate liar. The fact that MI6 say that they didn't know and they couldn't produce a document to the Labour Party that disqualified Mandelson as a US ambassador, and the Labour Party did not know, is beyond belief.
Yeah, it does seem to me like a political answer. But then we've got the former head of, was it the MI5 organization, saying we need to be prepared for war with Russia. Oh, come on. Come on. How dumb do you think we are? And that was so obviously politicized. The Russians, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I make a prediction and I'll apologize if I'm wrong. The Russians are not under your bed. They're not about to invade. Why would they want to take on a problem child like Britain? They're not going to be here. And frankly, you'd like a lot of Russians if you met them socially because they've got a good sense of humor. No doubt they're laughing all the way to the bank whenever they start selling their cheap oil to the other countries who are still doing business with them. Let's look at 2 other possible candidates. Here's the delightful Angela Rayner. What a lovely woman she is. And she's been hampered because of all that stuff that caused her to resign. And ironically, she was thrown from the bus. So she's actually got some distance from Starmer. She's actually, I would say, the favourite.
I'd go the other way. I mean, there is just something about Angela Rayner. We know that our politicians lie, but 9 times out of 10, we don't want them she'd be a disaster as a prime minister.
Yes, but that's not what you and I think, because we haven't got the vote. To the best of my knowledge, neither of us is in the Labour Party, but she has got a lot of support. It's not what you and I want. I think that she's kind of rather popular. I think it would be hilarious to have it. I think she'd be a hilarious prime minister. She'd be even funnier than Starmer.
You may as well pick David Lammy. I mean, she does have a. How can I put this as politely as possible, Lembit? There is
be very careful. I will be real big personal attacks on this station, but go on.
I will be. She has Once Anne Widdecombe once turned round of somebody and said she has something of the night about them. And of course, I think Angela Rayner has something of the council estate about her.
That is actually so bad. That is so snobbish. That is awful. That is awful.
I know, it's terrible.
I can't believe you said that, Warren.
Well, believe
that
it.
virtually violates the station's principles. What's whether she's been on the council? Well, what's whether she's been on a council estate got anything to do with it? You know, I've had partners whose families have lived in a rented council accommodation all their lives. How dare you? How dare you say that?
It turned into Greta Thunberg. Look,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. That's how I say it.
She's not
You've been in the
win.
Philippines in your posh mansion too long. You've just offended a lot of your viewers by saying that. Nothing wrong with being a council estate person. Oh my goodness! I'd like to apologise, ladies and gentlemen. If you live in one of these premises behind me, presumably like Warren, he probably owns one of these blocks. Then maybe you agree with what he says. But if you live in a council estate, I will give you Warren's address, and you can go and give him a piece of your mind. Terrible. What you said.
West Streeting's going to get it because he's the Bilderberg anointed.
But you mentioned the other person who, in my view, is on the short list. After the question, David Lammy. And he could get it because West Streeting's compromised by Mandelson and Angela Rayner's compromised by herself. Whereas this guy just bumbles on being Deputy Prime Minister. He's one step off the job now. He would be another amazing appointment, wouldn't he?
He's not one step off the job. He's never going to get the job, Lembit. I mean, this is a guy, let's not forget here, that thought Marie Antoinette got a Nobel Prize. You also have to remember that he gets his 7s and 8s and 6s and 7s messed up when it comes to kings and queens. When you consider what he did in the back of the taxi that time and left it in such a mess and then nearly had a fight with the driver.
Allegedly. He denies it all. He denies it all.
Oh, well, we've got pictures of the taxi, so he can't really deny it. The problem is that, of course, he has made all sorts of blunders on the international stage. Maybe a job at Weight Watchers might be something that he might go for.
That's not a real picture. Warren, you're being incredibly offensive today.
Well,
you're being unbelievably rude.
You pay me. I'm not here to butter up politicians. They get enough ego boosts as it is. But here's the thing, Lembit. With David Lammy, you know that it's a catastrophe in the making. And to be honest with you, let me throw this little carrot out there. I would rather have Angela Rayner than I would David Lammy, and that is saying
why.
David Lammy is a walking disaster. He's going to get. Look, if David Lammy gets the job, we'll end up paying 680 billion in reparations to Jamaica before we even start.
Yeah, he did have all that. We're to blame for a lot of things. I don't like that reparations debate at all.
No, not.
But there we are. That is the nature of things. All right, I'm going to ask you 3 predictions before we finish. First of all, will Starmer make it to May?
I think not. But if he does, he's a dead duck anyway.
All right. Secondly, who's going to win the Gorton and Denton by-election?
The Greens.
Okay. And thirdly, who's going to take over from Starmer?
West Streeting.
All right. My answers are he won't make it to May. I just think there's too much coming his way. But I do agree with you. If he somehow makes it to May, he's going to have to leave then. Secondly, I think that I think that Labour will lose. I'm not sure who's going to win. I think Labour will lose.
Oh, you can't do that. You've got to make the prediction, Lembit.
Reform or Green. Reform or Green. Though I think Advance will do okay. Okay. Just for the sake of devilment, reform. All right.
Yay.
Reform. And but I think Advance UK will do better than people think. I think they got a great candidate there. And thirdly, I think it'll be Angela Rayner. And you think it's West Streeting?
This will be interesting going forward to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Where can people get another dose of Warren Thornton?
Well, they can get a dose if they want that of Warren Thornton Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Where, of course, we have fairly forthright views there. And, of course, on Sunday nights, we have the wonderful Lembit Öpik, erudite, and, of course, the person of the people from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Not a hint of snobbishness about it.
Yes, fire on you. But thank you so much, Warren. It's good to speak with you. As long as we've got family-friendly dialogue, we're really willing to live with the strong views. We don't really censor anybody here. I'll see if I can get Zach Polanski on as well. It'd be great fun talking with him. I don't have much in common with him, but I think he's quite charismatic. So you've heard it here. Various predictions. If you're watching it live, we can see in a few weeks' time if we're right or wrong. My view is simple, though, that Kier Starmer, by essentially letting his chief of staff go, second chief of staff, he's lost. He said, I can't manage this job without taking the ultimate risk, putting myself in the front line. So he's got no more cards to play. One more strike and he is out. And then we'll see who becomes the next leader of Labour and the next Prime Minister too. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found that interesting. Apologies if you live in a council estate. We will be having words with Warren Thornton about that after the show. I can still hear him laughing in the background. He doesn't mean his apology. Fire on you. You should see the shack he lives in. You should see his living conditions, by the way. Get him back in. Get him back in. Yeah, Warren, you're one to talk. You got a corrugated roof.
I have. We are busy doing this. We are busy doing the studio at the moment. But of course, I'm not being funny. How can I put it? The elite or the various people. They don't, when you do put forward these people, look at Neil Kinnock, look at Michael Foot. They never really got anywhere for the simple fact that the elites will not let these sort of people in charge. You're not welcome at the table, Lembit. You know it, and I know it. As much as people will give me abuse for me saying there's something in the council estate about them, the elites will think that, and they will kick her out. Wes Streeting will be the guy.
You had your say, and we'll see what happens. Please feel free to comment, and please just keep your language clean. That's the only thing I ask. But feel free to say what you want to say about Warren. We do believe in free speech, and sometimes that can be offensive. But remember, offense is not given; it is taken. That's a whole mantra of mine, has been for a long time. Thank you very much. Do please follow us. Follow me on X at Lembit Öpik, and please follow and subscribe to @Unprecedented on YouTube. That's it for today, for my show today, but do find the other great shows as well. Tim Scott Uncancelled, great show, and many other shows coming, more and more actually as they go along. I hope you found that interesting. Have a very good day. Big thanks to the team, but more than anything, thanks to you for having the courage of your convictions to think for yourself. I'm Lembit Öpik. That was Lembit Öpik Live here on Unprecedented TV.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.